The news about Jason Morgan being arrested and hauled off by the WSB for the shooting of Ross Cullum has officially hit the streets of Port Charles, and the fallout is absolutely nuclear. Everyone is talking about it. The whispers are everywhere, from the hospital corridors to the Metro court lobby, and the tension is just suffocating right now. Jason is gone, extradited to some unknown WSB black site facility, and the reality of him facing federal charges and potentially spending the rest of his life in a dark hole somewhere is setting in. And the worst part is the sheer injustice of it all, because we all know Jason didn't even pull the trigger. We know he took the fall for Rocco Falconeri to protect the kid, but the rest of the town doesn't know that. They just know Jason was found at Pier 55 with a bleeding Cullum and is now taking the blame. But no one is taking this harder than Carly. Of course it is Carly. It is always Carly when it comes to Jason. When she found out that Jason's freedom was ripped away and that he was facing decades in federal prison, her grief instantly turned into pure, unfiltered rage. And she needed a target. She needed someone to blame for the fact that her best friend, the man who has always been her rock, is suddenly gone again. And that target became Britt Westbourne. Carly connected the dots, realizing that Jason was down at that pier trying to help Britt escape her nightmare with Cullum and Jen Sidwell. In Carly's mind, if Britt hadn't dragged Jason into this mess with her Huntington's disease medication and the stolen cold fusion prototype, Jason would still be here. He wouldn't be in a transport van right now. So Carly's brain just locked onto Britt as the sole reason for Jason's downfall. This all boiled over at Charlie's pub. It was supposed to be a good night. Christina Corinthos Davis was hosting the grand reopening of the pub, trying to bring some life and music back into the place. The crowd was packed. People were laughing, having drinks, trying to enjoy the musical performances. Christina was buzzing around, probably distracted by her massive crush on Michael's girlfriend, Jacinda Bracken, who was also there. It was a crowded, loud, busy room. And then Carly walked in. You could literally feel the temperature drop in the room. I mean, we have seen Carly on the warpath before, but this was different. This was that cold, terrifying, laser-focused anger that she only gets when someone she loves is taken from her. She scanned the room, ignoring the music, ignoring Christina, and her eyes locked right onto Britt. Britt was just standing there, probably already eaten alive by her own guilt and the sheer terror of Cullum still being alive in the ICU. She has Jocelyn Jacks in her ear, pressuring her to murder Cullum in his hospital bed. She has her own life-threatening illness hanging over her, and she just watched Jason sacrifice himself. Britt is a mess. But Carly didn't care about any of that. Carly marched right through the middle of that crowded pub, shoving past people, not even caring who was watching. The music seemed to fade out as she closed the distance, and she just unleashed on Britt. She started screaming, her voice echoing over the crowd, blaming Britt for everything. She called her selfish, reckless, a disaster who ruins everything she touches. She yelled that Jason is sitting in a cage right now because Britt couldn't handle her own problems. And then it happened. The slap. It wasn't just a quick little soap opera slap. It was a massive, full-force, open-handed strike that echoed through the entire pub. The sound was sickeningly loud. Carly put her entire body weight into it, slapping Britt so hard that Britt's head snapped to the side and a bright red mark instantly bloomed across her cheek. The whole pub went dead silent. People gasped. Christina froze behind the bar. Jacinda just watched with that calculated, guarded look she always has. Everyone was just staring, waiting to see what would happen next. Carly stood there, chest heaving, pointing a finger in Britt's face, screaming that Britt was the reason Jason lost his freedom and that she would never, ever forgive her for it. It was brutal. Honestly, it was hard to watch because it was just so raw and so misplaced. But if Carly thought a public humiliation and a physical assault were going to make Britt crumble, she clearly forgot who she was dealing with. This is Britt Westbourne. She's the daughter of Caesar Faison and Liesl Obrecht. She does not just roll over and cry when someone hits her. Britt slowly turned her head back to face Carly. She didn't touch her cheek. She didn't cry. Her eyes just went completely dead and cold. She looked at Carly with this terrifying intensity, and she didn't back down an inch. Instead of apologizing or breaking down, Britt stepped right up into Carly's personal space. And she hit back not with her hands, but with a threat that completely shifted the entire dynamic of the room. Britt lowered her voice, making it so only Carly and the people right next to them could hear, but the venom in her tone was unmistakable. She told Carly that if she ever touched her again, or if she kept interfering and pushing this vendetta, she would expose a massive, earth-shattering secret about Carly's family. A secret so big it would destroy everything Carly is trying to hold together. Britt didn't spell it out right there in the middle of the pub, but the implication was clear. She knows something. Maybe she knows about Valentine Cassadine hiding out in Carly's attic. Maybe she knows something about the WSB, or Jack Brennan, or even something related to Sonny and the Marco Rios murder setup. Whatever it is, Britt made it crystal clear that she holds a nuclear launch code, and she is not afraid to press the button if Carly pushes her over the edge. You could see the hesitation flicker in Carly's eyes for just a second. Carly is used to being the loudest, strongest person in the room. She is used to bullying people into submission when she is grieving. But Britt's threat wasn't empty. You could tell Britt meant every single word. She is a woman who is already facing a terminal illness, who is being hunted by a dirty WSB director, and who just lost the only man who is trying to save her. Britt has absolutely nothing left to lose, and a woman with nothing to lose is the most dangerous person on the planet. Carly realized in that moment that she had just ignited a war with someone who was entirely capable of burning her house down. The crowd in Charlie's pub was just paralyzed. Nobody knew what to do. You had this intense standoff between two of the most stubborn, fiercely protective women in Port Charles. Carly, fighting for Jason's memory and his freedom. Britt, fighting for her own survival and refusing to be the scapegoat for a situation that is way more complicated than Carly even realizes. Because the tragic irony of this entire screaming match is that Carly doesn't know the truth. She doesn't know that Rocco Falconeri shot Cullum. She doesn't know that Jason made this choice on his own to protect Dante and Lulu's kid. Carly is directing all of her rage at Britt, while the real truth is locked away in a massive police cover-up orchestrated by Nathan West. This feud is not just going to stay between Carly and Britt. It is going to bleed into everything else. Britt's threat to expose Carly's family secret is going to pull so many other people into the crossfire. If she blows the whistle on Valentine being in Carly's attic, that brings the WSB crashing down on Carly's head. It ruins Valentine's plans to use his Swiss connections to exonerate Jason. It destroys Charlotte's hopes. And what if Britt's secret involves something else? What if it involves Sonny? Sonny is currently dealing with his own nightmare, being framed by Cullum for the murder of Marco Rios. He has ADA Justine Turner breathing down his neck, using their past hookup to try and pry information out of him. Rick Lansing is trying to build a criminal defense for Sonny, warning him that exposing Cullum's vendetta might backfire. If Britt drops a bomb in the middle of all this legal chaos, it is going to be a bloodbath. And let's talk about this bloody legal battle that is brewing. Because that is exactly what this is turning into. It's not just a catfight in a bar. It is a full-scale war involving the highest levels of the WSB, the Port Charles Police Department, and the mob. Diane Miller is going to be pulled into this. Rick Lansing is already involved. Jack Brennan is hovering around, acting mysterious and extraditing Jason to nowhere. Everyone is lawyering up, everyone is lying, and everyone is trying to protect their own. Carly is going to tear the town apart trying to find a way to free Jason, and if she thinks Britt is standing in her way, she will hire every lawyer and call in every favor to crush her. But Britt is a doctor. She has access. She has knowledge. She has Jocelyn Jacks literally begging her to sneak into the ICU and murder the unconscious Ross Cullum to solve their problems. Honestly, what is Jocelyn even thinking right now? She is pushing Britt to commit cold-blooded murder in a hospital bed. Jocelyn, who has spent the last year preaching about morality and wanting Sonny to pay for his crimes, is now acting as a lookout for an assassination attempt. The hypocrisy is staggering, but it just shows how desperate everyone has become. This whole situation has pushed every single character past their breaking point. Jocelyn wants Cullum dead to protect Jason and Britt. Britt wants Cullum dead to survive. Carly wants Britt destroyed for taking Jason away. And somewhere in a WSB transport van, Jason is just sitting there in handcuffs, silently taking the punishment for a teenage boy who is currently eaten alive by guilt back in Port Charles. I just keep thinking about Rocco. That poor kid, he saved Jason's life. He shot Cullum in the back to stop him from bashing Jason's head in with an iron rod. and now he has to sit in silence, sworn to secrecy by Nathan and Lulu, while he watches the entire town tear itself apart over what he did. Rocco has to watch Carly publicly assault Britt. He has to watch Jason get shipped off to federal prison. The psychological toll this is going to take on him is going to be massive. And what happens when Dante finds out? Dante is sitting at the PCPD, dealing with a concussion from Jason headbutting him, totally clueless that his own son is the shooter. When Dante finally learns the truth, that Nathan covered it up, that Lulu lied to him, that Jason sacrificed himself for Rocco, Dante's world is going to shatter. So where do we go from here? The slap at Charlie's pub was just the opening shot. It was the spark that ignited the powder keg. Carly and Britt are now locked in a feud that has no boundaries. Carly is not going to back down until Jason is free, and Britt is not going to let Carly bully her into submission. The threat has been made. The secret is hanging over Carly's head like a guillotine. And with Cullum fighting for his life in the ICU, thanks to Lucas Jones unknowingly saving his boyfriend's killer, the stakes have literally never been higher. This isn't just about who goes to jail anymore. It is about who survives the fallout. And right now, it looks like nobody in Port Charles is going to make it out of this legal and emotional bloodbath without some serious scars.